Welcome to What's Your Story? Today, my guest is an entrepreneur. He's an author. He has led hundreds of people to becoming the new you. Today, my guest will focus on education and encouragement, which lines up with WYTV7 mission statement. We educate, we empower, and we encourage. So please help me welcome Eric Twiggs to the show. Mr. Twiggs, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show.
Great. So tell our viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am your procrastination prevention partner. I'm the author of The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination, and I'm the host of the 30-Minute Hour podcast. And I help entrepreneurs and executive leaders to beat procrastination so they can make more money, get more done, and feel more confident.
So, Mr. Twiggs, how do you help people get more done? Because especially with the pandemic, we have for the last 2 years, America has been in a stagnant place. So how do you bring America from being in a stagnant place to getting more done?
Well, I think, so we talk about the pandemic, and a lot of people have said, well, I'm going to wait until things get back to normal. Yeah, I have this venture, I have this dream, I have this goal, but I'm going to wait until things get back to normal. So I encourage people, instead of stopping when they face a crisis, I encourage them to pivot. And I'm like, okay, well, what can you do now? Because normal has changed forever, and we have to move. So whenever you face a crisis, the key is to focus on pivoting. What's a small step that you can take? And I know of people who, during the pandemic time, they've had their best years in business. They made more money than they did before the pandemic. But that's because they made the decision to pivot. So that's one of the ways that I help people to overcome procrastination. I help them to find different ways to pivot.
That's awesome. Now, is that one of your steps in your best-selling author book, the Disciple of Now, 12 Ways to Overcome Procrastination? Is that one of your principles?
Well, so it is. I don't call it a pivot, but I talk about not allowing perfect to become the enemy of progress. So what I mean, and it's similar to when people face a crisis, right? Let's say you've got a big project. It could be, I want to start a podcast. I talk to people all the time. I want to start a podcast, and it's, I need to have the right microphone. Oh man, I got to figure out what platform I'm going to use. How am I going to edit? Oh, am I going to record? Am I going to go live? So when it's overwhelming, the easiest thing to do is nothing, right? But the key is you don't have to have all of the answers. So what I talk about in the book is you have to focus on what's the next step that I can take, right? So if you want to start a podcast, a simple step could be calling someone who's already a successful podcaster. And then the steps will reveal themselves from there.
So how did you get here? How did you become so focused? Again, we're in a pandemic. How did Eric Twig become so focused that he could help someone overcome procrastination?
Good question. It started for me back in college, and I talk about this in the book. It was my senior year at Hampton University, and I'm having this conversation with my good friend Donnell. Now, he and I were a little different at the time, right? He was all about his purpose, and I was all about the party. So him and I were having this conversation, and he'd always be giving me a hard time, saying, man, you need to get it together, figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life. And I'm always like, hey, loosen up. We have plenty of time for all of that. Are you coming to the frat party with me or not? So several weeks go by, we don't talk, but then I get a phone call from his mother informing me that he was killed in a car accident.
Wow.
Changed everything. It sent me a message that maybe I don't have the time that I think to do the things that I need to do. And ever since that experience, I've been focused on how I spend time. And am I procrastinating? And how can I be more productive? Because that sent me a message loud and clear that time is short.
So do you think that death gave you your purpose, his death catapulted you into a purpose, into your purpose?
It helped me to start to pay attention to time. But then, so I thought, after that, I thought the message was that I needed to pursue success and I needed to elevate my income. And I thought that was the answer. And so what I did was I pursued the corporate track, and I got to a point where you could argue that I was successful. I was a district manager. I had 500 employees at 17 locations. We're winning these awards. And I remember this as clear as day. I'm in my car one day, I'm in my BMW, I'm in my car. I look in the rear view mirror and I remember this, the eyes that were looking back at me were the eyes of someone who hated what he was doing. Yeah, and that taught me that, you know what, you can have income. That doesn't necessarily mean you're having an impact. And that's really when I started to pursue what was it that I was called to do? What's my purpose? What am I doing for the greater good? I started asking myself those questions, and through another series of steps, that's when I realized that I'm supposed to be inspiring people by speaking to them and writing books and blogs and things of that nature.
So, we're talking, and the scripture comes to my mind, like write the vision, make it plain. And how can you encourage our listeners, spiritually and non-spiritually, because everybody don't have a relationship with God. So how can you inspire someone to take the next step that they may feel like they're drowning?
Well, I think, and one of the things I bring up in the book is that clarity is the starting point of success. If you were to go back to a scripture, without a vision, the people will perish. I think it's so important to get clear on where it is that you're trying to go and what it is that you were called. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody has a reason for being here, because if you didn't have a reason for being here, you wouldn't be here, right? That means the fact that you're here, there's something that you're supposed to do. And I think you owe it to yourself to find out what that is. And when you find out what that is, now it makes your decisions much easier, because if you don't know what you want, everything sounds like a good idea.
Absolutely. In the Bible, it talks about counting up the cost. So let's just focus on that just a little bit. What is the cost of procrastination?
So procrastination, it's a silent killer, right? It's the challenge with procrastination is a lot of times when you do it, there's no immediate bad consequence. So you think you get away with it, right? For example, if you're supposed to be working on a presentation and you're playing Candy Crush, right? It's not like the procrastination police come knock your door down and take you off to jail. So you're thinking that you're getting away with it, and then you go to do the presentation and people tell you, oh, you did a good job. Oh, that was great. So now you tell yourself, oh, I work better under pressure. And the problem with that is your presentation would be much better if you started early. So your quality of work suffers. Your reputation can suffer. If you're the person, and we all know this person, and you may be in an organization, there's always that one person who's always late. It starts at 9 o'clock, they're getting there at 9:15 looking to shovel. So it costs you your reputation. It could cost you relationships. Like some people, if you're late or you turn in something late, they feel like you don't value their time. And it can keep you from advancing in your respective areas. So there's definitely a cost. And the biggest cost is regret. The biggest cost is looking back at your life when you're older and saying to yourself, you know what, I really could have done more.
And with the new year coming on, what would you tell our viewers with the year's ending? You'll be my last broadcast for the year. What would you tell our listeners about regret or doing or not doing what they were called to do?
Yeah, it's costly. I remember I'm having a conversation with a friend of mine, and he had this great government career. He was high ranking, made really good money, very well respected. And he looked at me and he had tears in his eyes, like, you know what? I could have done more. And he was right around the retirement age for the government based on his time. So, I really could have done more. And you don't want to look back. And in the book, I have these exercises where, like, one of the exercises is meeting your deathbed self. So, like, when you're on, let's say right now, you're like, yeah, I may want to start a business, but I don't know. Ask your deathbed self, right? If you project yourself years into the future and you're on your deathbed, what would your deathbed self tell you to do? Your deathbed self will probably tell you to go for it, because we tend to regret the things that we didn't try versus the things that we tried that didn't work out.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this best-selling book, The Disciple of Now, 12 Practical Principles of Overcoming Procrastination. So tell us where we can buy this bestseller. Can we see that book?
Absolutely. I know I've got a green screen, so maybe a little difficult to see it. This is what it looks like, The Discipline of Now. You can get it on Amazon, and it's available on in audio format. It's actually, I'm doing the audio. It's on paperback and it's in ebook format. You can also grab it from my website, ericmtwiggs.com.
So let's talk about those principles. So you've got 12 principles in this book. In your book, you lay out 12 practical principles. And I love that. That means when people talk about practical, that means they tried it. It's been tried through the fire. So let's talk about those principles. What are those 12 principles you lay out in your book?
So the book is divided into 3 sections, right? You have the cost of procrastination, which we've started to talk about. You have the causes of procrastination, and then you have the cure for procrastination, right? So the principles are spread out in each of those sections. Like, for example, we talk about clarity of purpose. We talk about overcoming your fears. One of the big things we talk about is saying no. And that's chapter 6 in the book. And that's something that I have to go back and reread myself, even though I wrote it. Because here's the thing, when you start to get more visibility, people start coming to you with more opportunities, but not every opportunity is in line with your purpose. So you have to be careful with that. You can find yourself trapped in a bunch of tasks that don't line up. But so as far as the principles, the meat that everybody needs to know about with this book it's called the Procrastination Prevention Pyramid, right? And it's 5 key steps on the pyramid. So I'll just take a few minutes to give an overview of it. So it's 5 levels to each pyramid. At the base of the pyramid, if you follow this pyramid, you take the steps, you'll find that you are overcoming procrastination. So at the base of the pyramid is your attitude. And I have the attitude at the base of the pyramid because your attitude is at the base of your success, is the foundation of your success. So you have your attitude, you have the next rung is awareness. It's really being aware of your power times. Like, are you a morning person? Are you a night owl? And then scheduling those high priority activities during those times of day when you have the most energy. It's also about being aware of the people you're around and your sleep patterns and things of that nature. You have attitude, you have awareness. Next, you have animation. And it's critical that you protect your energy. And if you look at times when you're procrastinating, you are usually in a space where you had low energy. And it's very important that you have a regular workout routine. You're getting 30 minutes of cardio 3 times a week at a bare minimum. Again, you're getting the right amount of sleep. And
Mr.
you've got
Twiggs, we're going to have to take a break.
Okay.
And we'll come back after our break and we'll talk more about the Disciple of Now. I love the name, the Disciple of Now. I mean, And this book is a great stocking stuffer. It will make a great Christmas present. We'll talk about it after the break, and we'll be right back.
All right.
Christmas is believed to be a magical time when angels roam the earth, bringing messages of hope and good cheer. Do you need a Christmas angel? I Need a Christmas Angel, a Christmas novella from Tolson Publishing. Kelly Benson has spent the last 5 years hiding in Chicago after her crush Gabe brought a pregnant wife home. Gabe is raising his 4-year-old daughter alone after his wife of 5 years moved to Tampa with her boyfriend. Depressed and hopeless after being fired a week before Christmas, Kelly wishes for a Christmas angel to come work its magic. Can the magic of Christmas drive the loneliness away? Will a Christmas angel bring a love Kelly's way? I Need a Christmas Angel by Raquel Tolson. Order your copy today. Available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and TolsonBooks.com.
We're back with an author, Eric Twiggs. He is the author of The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles of Overcoming Procrastination. It is a great stocking stuffer for Christmas. It is a bestseller. Mr. Twiggs, tell us where that book can be bought, and let's pick up on those 5 levels that you were talking about in your pyramid.
Yes. So you can purchase the book right at Amazon, The Discipline of Now, 12 Practical Principles to Overcome Procrastination. You can get it on my website, ericmtwiggs.com as well. As far as the procrastination prevention pyramid, 5 levels. We've already talked about attitude. We've talked about awareness. We've also talked about animation. The next level of the pyramid is automation. And that's really about setting systems in place so that you don't have to touch things and they still get done. It can be something as simple as delegation. In the book, I go into way more depth. But then in the last step is activity. And I put activity at the top of the pyramid because you can't get to the top without taking action. And you have to remember that 20% of the things you're doing are getting you 80% of your results.
I love that. So how did you come up with the 20-80 rule?
Well, that's just research over the years, and it's based off of a book called the 80-20 principle. And it's something called Pareto's principle, where they studied these Italian economists. They studied and they found out that like 20% of the wealth, but 80% of the wealth came from 20% of the people. And they found that 80-20 ratio applied to most things.
Absolutely. So can you educate our listeners and viewers on the principle of acting now, not waiting, but acting now? And we know procrastination is acting later, but the principle of acting now, why is that so important?
Because really all you have is now. You don't have, we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but we know what's going to happen now. And that's the difference between people that get good results and the people that get great results. So they can both go to the same conference, and they can both listen to the same speaker, and they can both get the same great idea. But the difference between the good and the great is the person that gets great results is going to implement it right away. They have the discipline of now. And it seems like it's subtle, right? Just that one little decision. But over time, though, that one decision here, that next decision there, it adds up to great results.
So why is time so important of getting or setting your purpose or getting your purpose accomplished? Why is time so crucial to the success of what you're doing?
Well, because time isn't renewable. You don't really get the time back. And that's why you really have to seize the opportunities when you get them. And a lot of things happen based off of timing. And if you don't act in the right season, then you can miss out on a tremendous opportunity. And that's why you always just have to move forward. But again, I go back to, if you're clear on your purpose and it's something that you're passionate about, you'll be more motivated to move.
Absolutely. So how did you come up with the principle of the procrastination principle pyramid? How did you come up with that model?
Well, because I've done over 28,000 coaching sessions with executives and entrepreneurs. And those are just some of the common things that I've seen. Like, for example, like when I first started, now when I would coach someone, I would be working, trying to help them improve the financial performance of their business. But I found out that they had an attitude issue. Like they had a limiting belief. They were negative. And no matter how much information I gave them, they wouldn't move forward until we addressed the attitude issue. And so as I evolved, I realized that the attitude is critical. So now when I hear that there's evidence of an attitude issue, I have to address that, because we can't fix the business until we fix the mindset.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, you can teach somebody a skill, but attitude, that's in depth. That's who you are. So, with your steps of procrastination, and, we're talking about attitude with your pyramid, how did attitude play a part in that? People, if you got a terrible attitude, people don't really want to deal with you. So how can you change someone's mindset about their attitude? I guess is the question I'm asking.
So the average person has 6,500 or so thoughts per day. And the studies show that 80% of those thoughts are negative. It's just natural. If you're not aware, just your self-talk, 80% of that's negative. And so we have this habit of negativity, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're in business, because you're focused on problems. So the problem is that can help you, that can cause you to be a procrastinator, because you're pessimist and you're thinking, oh, that's not going to work. So the best way to deal with a bad habit is to replace it with a better one. And that's why you have to be intentional about focusing on the positives. So I have people focus on their wins. They have to I have people start a win log. Take a 3x5 card. As you're going throughout your day, you're tracking things that are going well, track things that you're thankful for. Hey, I got a 5-star review. Hey, I got a new customer. Hey, I got a recommendation. So you just have to be intentional about tracking and the more you write your wins down, the more wins you'll have to write down.
Absolutely. So I understand, Mr. Twiggs, that you have a new book, a new ebook that's coming out. So tell our viewers the name of your book and how they can purchase it.
So the name of the book, and it's been out for a while actually, it's One Moment in Time, Preparing Your Life for Your Defining Moment. And that one you can get exclusively from my website, ericmtwiggs.com.
So how do you define yourself for that moment?
Right. So the premise of the book is, how you see people who they have this event, and I can go with, say, let's do President Barack Obama. And at one point he was this unknown state senator. And then he did this presentation at the Democratic National Convention, and it completely changed the trajectory of his career. Everything was different. Everybody knew him. He went on to become president of the United States. And many people will tell you it was because of that one speech. No, it wasn't. There's some things that were happening for years in the past, right? So the premise of the book is that you have to be proactive. You have to be positioned. And when I say positioned, you need to be positioned in your passion and then being prepared. And then if you work the steps that I outlined in the ebook, your defining moment will come, your opportunity will come, and you'll be prepared and you'll be able to take advantage of it.
So if you're out there and you don't know, you want to do something, but you don't know what to do, where do you begin? Because you're saying one moment and I love the title, One Moment in Time. How do you define that moment? I mean, you're out here, you're just, I guess, drifting in time, and you want to do something. How can you focus in on that one thing you need to do?
Well, so pay attention to what you're passionate about. right? Pay attention to what comes natural to you. The things that people are always complimenting you on something. Okay, you have something. People always, it looks like work to them, but for you, it's effortless. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to those patterns. Maybe get an outside mentor to give you feedback, but take a step. And that's what I did, because it took me a while to really get clear. So I joined Toastmasters International, for example, right? I had a passion for public speaking. I just took that next step. And I think if you just start exploring your passion, if it's cooking, take that next step. Start putting together recipes. Are there groups you can join? Yeah, and getting into an arena with people that share that passion can help too.
So do you do workshops, Mr. Twiggs, with your book, or do you have any workshops coming up?
I do. So I do. I have. Thank you for mentioning that. On December 14th at 7 p.m., I'm doing a webinar titled "The Discipline of Now." And we're talking in the main thing, we'll be talking about the procrastination prevention pyramid. I'll be getting more in depth on steps you can take to overcome procrastination. Matter of fact, this is free. This is a free event. It's if you go to the website blbinc.org on December 14th at 7 p.m. Eastern time, you can check it out. It's a free workshop. Will help you to overcome procrastination.
So will this workshop be led by you, and you're going to use the principles from your 12 practical steps, or you're going to use the principles from One Moment at a Time, or a combination?
Well, more of the principles from the Discipline of Now, but there'll be a few things that I talk about in One Moment in Time that'll be factored in. So this event is sponsored by the Bernie L. Bates Foundation. So I'm doing this for them, but it's open to the general public. And definitely is a good opportunity.
So, Mr. Twiggs, 5 years from now, what's new for Eric Twiggs?
Oh, that's good.
We're talking about procrastination here.
Well, I can see myself having another book. I have all kinds of ideas for the next book, so I'll have another book in hand, and I think I'll just be doing a lot of the things I'm doing on a larger scale, because I just want to reach my ultimate goal. I want to inspire 100 million or more people to move forward in the direction of their purpose.
So, Mr. Twiggs, do you mostly deal with business in the business sector, or, what about someone who works maybe who's not business oriented, like a blue collar person, or do you mostly work in the business sector or the upper middle class?
Yeah, my typical person is the entrepreneur, the executive leader, but there's some universal principles. So the interesting thing is I get a lot of requests from schools, colleges, high schools. So the principles apply. I mean, I've worked with stay-at-home mothers on different things. They wanted to stop procrastinating on reorganizing the closet. So I mean, I think the message applies, but my core audience is the entrepreneurs and executive leaders.
Right. So, Mr. Twig, being the author of The Discipline of Now, the 12 steps to overcoming procrastination, what would you like to leave with our viewers? What encouraging word would you like to leave?
Well, you have a gift. Just because if you don't know what that gift is, that doesn't mean that you don't have one. And it's not just about you. It's your gift is to make this world better and to inspire someone else and to help someone else. So you have to think about it, not moving forward with that dream, you're also impacting someone else who could benefit from what you have to bring to the world. And you don't want to, like we said earlier, you don't want to look back with regret. You want to look back and say, I did everything that I knew to do to make the most of this gift that I have.
Absolutely, no regret. Well, Mr. Twiggs, we want to thank you. We want to thank WYTV7 for giving us this platform. And we want to thank you for giving us a principle to overcome procrastination, the discipline of now. I love it. I'm going to buy it. I encourage our viewers to go out and buy it. Great stocking stuffer, best-selling, Amazon bestseller. Go out, buy his book, go to his workshop, purchase his new ebook, The Moment in Time. So, Mr. Twiggs, we would like to thank you for being a part of What's Your Story. So thank you for letting your story become a part of our story on What's Your Story. I'm Sherita Williams, and we thank you for joining us.